Okay. Wait 1 second. Okay, there we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, boys and girls. Boys and girls. Yes. Excellent. How are you guys today? Excellent. Excellent. Why are you saying bad, bro? Nah, don't be like that. No, life's good, man. Well, okay. It's good in that it's individually not bad for me. And the world is looking... Well, I don't want to say, like, terrible, but it's, you know, like, as humanity will push through, right? Like, that's kind of the point of humanity, is that things always look bad. And then after the fact, things look better. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for humanity. I'm not particularly hopeful for like us individually. Because I know a lot of you lot are right, but yeah, I'm hopeful. Yeah. Oh look, the answer is found dead. Even though I didn't let that guy in, it was still found. Interesting. Anyway, okay. The search scanner has been installed. Okay. Yes, we are continuing our bureaucracy simulation. Let's do it. Come. No weapons or contraband. Papers, please. Colletia. Stay 2 months. Blum. Wait, do we need entry permit? Yes. So we should do... Wait, oh no, that is the entry permit. What am I saying? Yes. That matches. I don't remember how to play this game. Oh, I forgot to search Collegians. She can blow us up. Where's passport? Okay. Temper to be used for denials only. Got it. So I have to why can't I just like deny her and then just like send her on her way? See, she didn't blow us up. That's good. United Federations. Stay 2 days. So we don't have to ask her, Jill, Transit 2 days. Enter by expiry Shingleton. Let's look at Shingleton. Okay. You look fine. Bye. Hi. Oh, it's one of our boys. 167, 78 kilograms. Date of birth is the same. Name is the same. What is this? What am I looking at? I think we're okay, right? Let's see. Oh, not Collection. What am I saying? Regional map, Astrochka, Paradisia. Excellent. Bye. We welcome you. Oh. Invalid gender. Oh, gender F. Blah, 4011, 167, that's fine, 52 kilograms. There you go, welcome home. I wonder if my family's gonna go hungry again. No, okay. Work pass. I came to work for a few months. Oops, must have an ID. Entry permit. Where's your entry permit? Oh, thank you. 3 months, and she said 3 months, right? 2 months. Enter by 12/9. Oops, that's not it. Saxton surveying until Galorian. That looks good. Do I have to? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm responding to the vaccine question. Duration of stay 14 days. Shady. He definitely looks kind of shady, doesn't he? Expires next year. He's quite old, isn't he? I have to search him, so do I have to do that? Okay. Hello? Oh, okay, it's just ongoing. Oh, what am I supposed to highlight? Must be searched, no weapons of contraband. There we go. Yes. You cannot. You're right, they pay pretty well. Is he gonna get taken over and shot? No? Okay. Transit 2 days. Stay a couple days. United Federations. Let's see, Corista City. I really don't want to talk about vaccines, man. R blah blah. Oh, the guy looks just fine. Fight, cause no trouble. And if you pass through, or stay a couple weeks. Sobolev, Alexander. That matches transit trip. Okay. Cause no trouble. Entry still guaranteed. I love that. Kim Hee-soo. Immigration. F 1950, 19 DT. That looks fine. Okay, off you go. One more. Yeah. Transit elsewhere, duration of stay, couple of weeks. She looks like her picture. Gloria. Okay, bye. Oh, we managed to get one more, maybe? Work pass. And I call the ship of fine arts. Operistan. Okay, that's fine. Did you say a couple months? Until February. Excellent. Enter by. Okay. Thank you very much. Welcome to Astroshka. Cold, sick, and hungry. Okay. Well, I mean, that cures all of them, so we're good. Entertainment. Okay, nothing's going on. Have arrived to a high level. Searches are no longer authorized. Continued. Okay, so only passport and valid diplomatic. Blah. Okay. Let's go. Drag dog. Diplomatic organization. Blah blah. West Grustin. To all named Council of Nations member states must be granted upon present. Blah blah. Oh, that feels like just a diplomatic nightmare. Also, why would the ambassador himself come in like a pleb? Duration of stay 1 month. Enter by PSQGF. Excellent. Henry. Hello. Okay, let's do fingerprints. Frenchy, Henry. Okay, excellent. You're approved. Oh wait. I wish I could play this with my drawing tablet. Oh hi! This is entry ticket. You have an entry ticket. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you come back. Papers, please. Purpose of your transiting elsewhere. Duration of stay 14 days. Kerensky. Oh, that's cute. Are you a dude? You look like a dude. Yeah. This looks fine. Bye. Oh, hello? Okay. Thanks. I like that bit of storytelling, actually. That's very nice. Purpose of your trip, only to visit. 12 weeks. Great Rapids. G blah to G. Excellent. Bye. I wonder what this order is. Oh, invalid expiration date. 174, 70 kilograms. Expiration date. See, then they should just shoot these people. Obviously, it's for video gaming purposes. Cesarlo. Excellent. Welcome home. Oh, hello. Invalid birthday. Okay. You passed through Astos. Hollow. 14 days. November 30th. That should be fine. Ah. Another one. Invalid issuing city. Ah. Your birthday. East Crested. Drax Corman. Date of birth matches. 175 matches. 83 kilograms matches. Okay. My kids are going hungry today. Just visiting. 2 months. Boston from Republic. Okay. I thought I knew all of these, but apparently I did. Josephine Selman. Visit. Issuing. Birthday November 30th. Excellent. I feel like I'm faster today, right? Like, But that's because we're cutting corners, obviously. Hi. Purpose of your trip, transiting, duration of stay, a few weeks, excellent. Female, 831010, 1 month. We're okay here. Kayla Satova. Okay, bye. You know, like these kind, these. Huh? Oh, incorrect purpose response. I lost some more money. Remain for a few weeks. Oh, I should have looked at purpose. I remained for a few weeks. I'm visiting friends. 1984 X9R95. Eva Hanel. Republia has that, right? Most of them, yeah, we're good. There you go. Cause no trouble. So what happens to these things that I get? Shouldn't they be given to like our overlords? Trip, visit. Duration 3 months. Enter by is good. True Glorian. True Glorian is fine. 44, October 24th. SK, FX. Excellent. Okay. Bye. Oh, there's going to be okay. Ironic 1950 1130 M 74 170. We're fine, whatever. Here you go. Welcome home. One more. We lost 10 credits today. Can you imagine that? 10 whole credits. Work, duration, 90 days, 3 months, excellent. Enter by, blah blah, BLM, HAUN, female. Okay. There we go. Oh, come back at 6 AM tomorrow. Oh, missing work. Oh, she needed a work pass. I forgot about that. Oops. Okay, so nobody's getting food today. Everyone's okay though, so that's good. Oh, I forgot I could. I forgot about my upgrades. Yes. Top level Collegian exposed as Arstochkan spy. December 1st. As I expect that drop later today. Okay. Oh, this just stays with me now. Like, why? Hi. Hello? Are you gonna waste my time like this? Oh, my name is Kalinsk. Oh. Uh. Uh. Oh, at least time didn't move forward during that. Okay. That's okay. Work pass. Remain for 30 days. Your work is for fishing. Excellent. Enter by. Blah. That's fine. That's fine. Dmitry Sokolov. Regional map. Berestan. Okay, fine. Let's talk about the vaccine. Give me 1 second. We'll just put this on hold. Okay. Yes, let's give me a second. Let's talk about it. I mean, no, I don't necessarily blame you guys for not really understanding it, because it is a little bit of a it is a little bit of a fact to really understand properly. So let us, excuse me, hello. Where is my affinity designer? Oh, come on, don't do this. Oh, it's right here. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk real quick about vaccines. Like I'm babysitting a bunch of just like, ugh. You lot should know this. You lot shouldn't need me to do this. Oh, why is it 30? It should be 5. There we go. 0, 0, 3,000. 1,000. Okay. Lock. Oh, wait, no. Put that in there and then lock. Coronavirus. There we go. So, let's talk about it. This is a coronavirus. We're not done yet. Don't talk. It has these little things on top that we call spikes. The reason it's called a coronavirus is literally because it is filled with these spikes. And so they first identified it and thought it looked like some crowns, right? Cool. Makes sense? I'm going to actually do all of these, because why not? Well, not all of them. Do this and then duplicate it, move it like this. Delete this one. That does look kind of weird. That's okay. So like this, and then we're going to do, oops, not this one. These. Move them over here. Excellent. So this goes away, this goes away. Excellent. So, you know, it's a terrible little COVID-19, but it's okay. COVID-19 looks like that. Let's move it up there. And let's now take that away. And let's focus on this portion of it. And so this portion is what we, oops, no, this should be 2. And then let me make that a little bit bigger. Let's say that's 5. Excellent. So this is something called a spike. And what it does is it helps the virus itself get into the cell. Does that make sense? I shouldn't make it look like this, actually. Give me 1 quick second and then... Oh, I don't have my watch on. 1 second. Okay. So we're going to... I'm going to draw it a little bit more intricate for reasons that will come into... will be more obvious later, okay? So one of these spikes, we draw them to look like that, but they actually don't quite look like that. They actually look much more complex. And so let's say that this one here. Excellent. So the spike could look something like this. And so something we should talk about biology is that it all works via shape. Biology, modern biology, or not modern biology, just biology in general works so much through shape that it's fascinating to think about, because at the level of these things, each one of these actually we added like this. Let me create a little bit more complex, like that, and then maybe like this. Note though that it remains convex, and there are reasons for that. So let's see, do this, that, and then there is very good reason for me to do this. Just give me 1 second. Actually, I don't need this part. Excellent. So we'll come to this part a little bit later, but essentially a spike looks like this. Okay. Let me draw you a nice little frame around it, and then surface of the cell itself. Let's just do that. There we go. Oops. So that's a spike protein. Here. Let me do this. Just to make sure you guys understand what I'm talking about. So that's a spike protein. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I'm just zooming in on one particular spike protein on the surface of the virus, and this is what it looks like. Now, when we have the spike protein and I'm just talking in the wild now, and so this is our cell. Our cells are, I'm not even going to draw the whole cell because that's going to take way too long for me to do it justice. But the idea is that on the human cell, human cell. No, come on. On the human cell, there is something similar. Oh, right. Okay. There's something similar so that these two parts attract. You see how these two look basically the same? Well, they look exactly the same in this case because that's kind of how I made it. But let's say they don't look exactly the same. But they don't look exactly the same, but they still fit quite well. You see that? Right? Like the majority of it fits quite well. And the point of this is that let me just draw. Because each one of these little, like this is lined with atoms and this is lined with atoms, and the idea is that this would line up with that. Oh, 2, 2, 2, 2. Excellent. This lines up with here, and then we'll just keep going, right? So this trough lines up with there. This lines up with here. This lines up like this. This lines up down here. This lines up here, and these are what we call van der Waals forces, because they are, or they don't have to be van der Waals forces, actually, never mind. Because essentially what happens is then the spike protein pulls the virus onto the human cell. Cool. Are we all good? Does that make sense? So let's say spike protein. I'm not accusing you guys of being illiterate. I'm accusing you guys of being dumb. It's not quite the same thing. What was I saying, right? Spike protein conformationally conformational to something on human cell pulls virus onto human cell, virus then merges with human cell membrane, injects viral mRNA into cell replicates mRNA and helps virus make replicates, right? So really the idea is that the spike protein itself, it brings the coronavirus onto the human cell and then allows the virus to inject its RNA into the human cell to do whatever it needs to do. Crash course on viruses. They're not going to come up again, ideally. Let's say this is 3100, 3000, 5, and that much. Have we not shown? Yes. Oh, layer 2. Yes. Okay. And so then we'll talk about vaccines. Oops. I keep launching the help for vaccine. Okay, so let's bring our friend the coronavirus. No, not the coronavirus. The what is this? Spike protein. Spike protein. And so what the vaccines do is, most of the vaccines, actually, I'll need to write this down. Okay, most vaccines contain dead pieces of spike protein. Body recognizes that it's not local, therefore. And this is the vaccine. Actually, this is the way that vaccines work for a lot of the things that we deal with. Is we create something to generate we create something that generates an immune response in the body, so that the body now has floating within it antibodies that recognize bad things, so that when they enter the body next time, the adaptive immune system can then snap onto it and go crazy with it. And we do that with TC. We don't really need to know the immune cells that are on it to understand how the vaccine works, right? So most, let's say most COVID-19 contain that piece of spike protein. Therefore, once injected, body will read these, or body will create antibodies. And we all know what an antibody is, or we have general idea that recognizes that spike protein, right? And yes, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So we usually represent antibodies like this, with that on top. And so this little circle now, let's say, let's group them together. So now this little circle, say for example, it recognizes this part, and again we come back to shape, right? And this is going to be constant throughout. This little circle recognizes this shape, and once it recognizes this shape, this thing behind it changes and alerts everyone around it to say, hey, look, I found something crappy, come and kill it. And then it'll a lot of things will come and gobble up all of these, both of these. So do you want me to talk about the immune system? I don't think it's necessary right now, but essentially all you need to know is that the antibody will alert everyone around it so that they know to come and kill this thing. And then we can talk about stuff like monoclonal, blah, blah, blah. None of that is particularly interesting. So, well, okay, it's not that it's not interesting, it's not relevant. So the antibody recognizes, fine, I'll turn it into the right shape. Give me 1 second. So it looks like this. That. And this would be what we would call a monoclonal antibody. Well, in this particular case, all antibodies themselves are technically monoclonal because each antibody can only recognize a single piece of something else. But when we buy our antibodies, we can buy them as polyclonal, which actually means that they have a whole bunch of different things, different types of antibodies inside that help them recognize things. Right? So this antibody, even though it looks like a duck, is made specifically to latch onto this part, right? We see that? Let me bring this over. Yeah. We see this, right? Like the idea is that because it latches on like this, that then it knows when this is once again inside the body, and oops. There we go. And then this will recruit, other stuff to blah, 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 blah. And so most vaccines, modern vaccines are all like this. They just give you a dead, I'll just do it. Dead spike. Dead spike protein. Let's turn that to 20. There we go, just like that. Because the spike protein is actually not really useful, right? It doesn't actually do anything. For the virus to be actually dangerous, the spike protein needs to be attached to the virus itself. Otherwise, like, sure, you've attached to a cell, but what are you going to do once you have attached to a cell? Literally nothing, right? Like, literally, there is nothing. Like, there's a whole bunch of mRNA that's in here that'll get injected, and I should. mRNA gets injected into the cell because the spike protein helped the coronavirus attach to the human cell, like what happens here. Is that cool? That all makes sense? Good. Now, yes, we are actually getting into it right now, which is Pfizer and BioNTech or Moderna. So the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines use something called use mRNA instead of dead spike protein. And this might sound dangerous if all you know is, hey, look, the virus contains mRNA. The Pfizer BioNTech, the Pfizer and Moderna fucking vaccines use mRNA, but they use only 1% of mRNA that encodes only the spike protein. So what does this mean? This means that anything that these vaccines make, that the mRNA that is used. So taking a step back, I'm fairly certain. Let me just look this quickly. Pfizer cell. I'm pretty sure they still use a vector. Spike protein gene. Excellent, thank you. I don't need you to tell me this. Oh, okay, they just use, okay. Lipid nanoparticle. So remember what we said before, right? Like the mRNA has a surface like this, that once the spike protein brings it close to the human cell, this will merge into that. So but the Pfizer vaccine uses a lipid nanoparticle, so it's essentially just a blob of fat that contains mRNA. So, and that's enough, because if you guys, shall we say, let's, because it's essentially soap, so I'll use soap as an example. If you have two soap bubbles, you can merge two soap bubbles together, and they'll happily become one bigger soap bubble, or they become two that are not quite mixed. But if you just, wiggle them around a little, they'll mix properly. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Essentially, because they're all a soap is actually a lipid bilayer, not lipid bilayer. It's got a hydrophobic and hydrophilic end. But yeah, so once you have this, let's draw it out. A nanoparticle fuses with cell, injects 1% mRNA, injects spike mRNA. So essentially what this means is, let's call it spike mRNA. This has only a tiny subset, so let's call this the full virus mRNA, right? But the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna vaccines, they are this tiny little thing, and they only contain spike mRNA. Does that make sense? So yes, the entry method of this is basically the same as the what am I saying? As the coronavirus itself, because it's just merging. But having said that, that's what most things. That's how most things enter the human body. So, or enter the human cell. So there's not much we can really argue about that. So just do this. And so this merges. And this is a this lipid nanoparticle is actually engineered to be fairly easy to combine with human cells. And so the mRNA particle itself is arrow tool. Excellent, excellent. I don't need this. The spike mRNA is injected into the human cell. Let's move all of these up a little. And then, oh, right, like that. And then the spike protein is created inside the human cell. Oops. So this is it's actually a really cool technology because it means that because our RNA is much easier to create than the spike protein, and it's much easier to isolate than the spike protein. And so all of these spike proteins come out. They I'll label this, yes. Invade cell causing, no, what to say? Invade cell. And then we'll say this then bursts out of the cell. There's no better way of putting it. It bursts out of cell. And so once it's out of here, the body has I might need to talk about the immune system, but essentially the body has these generic antibodies, and in this case we'll just draw a little, one second, draw a little thing here. It's not right to call it a generic antibody, but you can essentially assume that it recognizes whatever, like something that is foreign. Versus foreign. Like that. Why do you never do what I need you to do? God damn it. Okay. So then, because the difference between a normal vaccine. Actually, let's just put a little line through it. There we go. The difference between the normal vaccine, which does this, and the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, is that it just does this, right? So let's just gonna say like, and then you know my point. Actually, you know what? I don't need this. This should be like this. So essentially, normal vaccines just give you lots of spike proteins for the body to use this to recognize, whereas the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, they make the mRNA, or they only make the mRNA for spike protein. They then encapsulate it and then inject the cell and use the human cell to make the actual spike protein. Right? So the human cell is much better at making this than we are in the lab, actually, and we should be proud of that as humans, because that means we're very cool. So, what am I saying? It is okay. It is okay. Everything is going to be okay. It is okay. This is a very, very standard way of doing this. Or no, this is a modern technology that means it is much easier for us to now deploy, here write this out, modern technique which allows us to, in the future, deploy more targeted vaccines much quicker, because mRNA is much easier to make than spike proteins. Does that kind of make sense? Oops. Oh, come on. Yeah. Does that kind of make sense? So essentially, the point is that yeah. So this is things like what is it? The Chinese ones. Chinese 19 vaccines. What is it called? Sinovac. Sinovac. Let me just double check. Astra vaccine technique. Yeah, it feels like. No, I don't want to trust the New York Times. DNA inside the. It's based on. Oh, Astra is a DNA vaccine. Oops. So instead of using mRNA like Pfizer and and Moderna, Astra uses DNA, which takes more steps. And it uses it uses an adenovirus that is so expensive. So it uses a separate virus that introduces the DNA. Oof. Okay. Let's see what else. Covax. No, not Covax. What I'm saying. I can't remember the names of the other ones. The point is, once again, this is the most fundamental way. Do you want me to talk about the Astra one? Because it is the other way that we know how to do it, because we know that adenoviruses can inject the DNA directly into the nucleus, or not into the nucleus, into the cell, and that will force the cell to use its machinery to translate that DNA into mRNA. Remember, mRNA inside the cell, and then that mRNA gets turned into spike proteins, blah blah blah, right? So it's an extra step, but the reason why that one is not as revolutionary is simply because we've known how to do that much longer. I'll write it in here. Astra. Oh, fuck you. 20. DNA adenovirus mediated, slightly older technology. DNA is more stable, easier to work with. Adenovirus safe. So that's why Astra did this. I think it's very understandable why that happened. Let's do that. So for Astra, essentially, you just you change the spike mRNA, you change that to DNA, it invades the human cell, and then the human cell still ends up making spikes, and then that comes back. Except, of course, it doesn't do that with a little nice bubble of lipid nanoparticle. It does that using a separate virus. And that's all technology that we know how to do, that we've done quite well. And it's it's Mm-mm. 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 No, the adenovirus is not harmful because the harm of a virus doesn't come from how it looks like on the outside. No, the harm of a virus comes from what it contains inside. So in this case, the harm of the coronavirus comes from its full virus mRNA, and it's technically double-stranded RNA. I think in this case, um, I honestly didn't read enough into this because I don't care enough. um, the point stands that, as in, I don't care about the structure of the mRNA for COVID-19. Not that I don't care about the science. I know about the science, right? So, um, you should have told me to put on background music. I'll do it now. In the last 5 minutes. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. So, what was I saying? The virus is not inherently dangerous because for a virus to be dangerous, it needs to encode more of its. It needs to have within it, in the mRNA or in the DNA that's contained within the virus, it needs to have the instructions to make more of the outer shell. If it doesn't, then all it will do once it hits a cell is it will go until it uses up all of the cell's ability to make stuff and then kill the cell. But it won't create a billion copies of the virus outer shell itself to package with whatever's in there because it doesn't have the instructions to do that. The instructions within the vaccine for Pfizer, which is one of these lads, the only instructions inside is to make the spike protein. It only makes this part of the virus, so it doesn't create more of itself because it cannot create more of itself. And that's the same, and that's the thing with the adenovirus and DNA as well, right? Like in the case of the Pfizer vaccine, it doesn't create more of these lipid nanoparticles, and in the case of the Astra vaccine, it doesn't contain, at least I certainly hope that it doesn't contain the instructions to make more of the adenovirus. And so once a certain amount of this is injected into you, the worst it can do is kill the cell that it has reached, and that's why we usually inject it on the upper arm, because it's or on the thigh for children, because it's nice and meaty. There's lots of blood flowing through it, but it's not near your brain, and so therefore it won't actually hit any of your brain cells. Everything there will actually regenerate. In fact, muscle cells tend to regenerate quite quickly, and that's why you want it to, right? And you don't want you certainly. Actually, this is one of the concerns with obesity, is actually you don't want to insert it into fat cells because that is actually not very useful. And so you have to, for some unfortunate people who are not unfortunate, for fat people, we need bigger needles because it needs to be beyond the fat layer. Right? Does that make sense? And I know, yes, I appreciate that, being, I don't want to talk about this right now. So I will just say that vaccines should be injected into muscle because that is where they can do the most good, because muscle cells are great for making these things for our body to recognize and to generate the antibodies that are required to then fight it easier next time. And there was earlier a very good question that I wanted to come back to, which is, if this is how our body works, then why doesn't it work when we have COVID-19? And the answer is it really does. It very much does, which is why the vast majority of people who have COVID-19 are, or not vast, but the majority of people who have COVID-19 only show light to mild symptoms, right? Originally it was mostly the elderly that sort of suffered it, and that it was dangerous for. Of course, with the new variants, that's no longer really the case. Partially because the elderly are more vaccinated, and therefore they represent a much smaller percentage of the population that is getting uh, that is getting the virus. So now we're seeing that it's still dangerous in non-elderly people. Yes, I should change that. And vaccine explanations. And no, I shouldn't call it science frame. Shape based. Demystification. I don't know if this actually means anything for you guys, if you guys actually understand what I'm talking about in this case, because the vaccine really is right. If we go back to what I talked about before, the spike protein really, everything in the human body interacts with almost everything else through shape, right? So the spike protein on the coronavirus attaches itself to the human cell through shape, and so the idea is that we really want to create these antibodies that recognize the shape of the spike protein, so that they can once the real thing enters our bodies, that our body already knows what to do with it. So going back to the question was why can't we just rely on the body to do this without the vaccine? And the answer is sometimes we don't have enough time. Right? We don't have enough time because the body, there is a lag between seeing something new and then being able to respond to it in big enough force to make sure it goes away. Right? And that's the problem that we face. The problem that we face is that for some people, they don't have enough time to get to this stage where they create enough antibodies to simply fight it off. And that's why we vaccinate, because we know what these things look like. We know what the spike proteins look like. And so we vaccinate so that our bodies can recognize what they look like and go after them before they can infect many cells and create, millions of themselves, such that they, for every cell that, like a single virus entering a cell could mean 1 million viruses, 1 billion viruses 3 to 6 hours later. And that's how well our cells work, which is amazing. But it also means that once it's in there, it's really in there. And if your body cannot fight it efficiently, if your body takes too long to respond to it, then we see for some people we see those serious side effects. Not side effects. We see the symptoms of the disease, right? So that's why we vaccinate. We vaccinate because we want our bodies to know what it looks like before it gets everywhere. And that's all there is to it. Right? That makes sense? Good. Any other questions? Because we're technically over time, but I'm happy to answer a few more questions. No. Just no more papers, please. Just no. Just any other questions about the vaccine and I guess COVID-19 in general. Yes, I will answer that later. Anything else? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So what happens when these guys are inside the cell? So, well, the cell blows up. For lack of a better word, the cell kind of just, if it's managed well enough, the cell will try to consume itself so that these things don't come out. but that's kind of the point of viruses. They overload cellular machinery that the cell itself just kind of bursts, and it leaves garbage and half digested things all over, and that actually causes a whole bunch of other issues as well. But that's sort of not the main point of the disease. The main point of the disease is that these things burst out of a cell, right? Ready to infect more cells. Whereas if we have a vaccine like this, the only thing that comes out of it is not a fully fledged virus, not at all. All that comes out of it are these little spike proteins, and that means that we are then, like, the spike proteins themselves, yes, they'll attach to other cells, but they don't actually kill other cells, right? So they just kind of float around for a little bit, and then our antibodies, these guys, will simply pick them up, nibble at them for a little bit, and then understand, oh look, this is not part of our own body, and therefore it will present that as a marker, and then someone else will come and pick it up and create proper antibodies for it. And this, remember we talked about this before, right? This is what the antibody does. Right, like the specific antibody, it slots itself very, very neatly into this position. Very, very neatly into this position. And remember, we've talked about it. Everything that goes on in the body is about shapes. And once it slots itself into this position, it'll change its shape, it'll change its bottom, and then someone else will come up around and look, oh, hey, look, it's found something bad, and then it'll drag this. So we could imagine that this antibody is now here. It's recognized this, and then something else. The actual T cells. Well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The actual killers, the actual not killers, garbage disposal cells come, and they pick up this antibody, and then they pick everything that's attached to it and just envelop themselves over it and subject it to gigantic, not gigantic. Very, very low pH, so that means very, very acidic, acidic environment, which then breaks everything down, right? Because remember, what happens when we're exposed to heavy acid? We dissolve, and the same thing happens to viruses. Don't drink acids. Don't inject yourself with bleach. Please don't. But that's the point. That's all there is to it, right? And that's why we vaccinate. Again, that's why we vaccinate. Please get yourself vaccinated. I know most of you are vaccinated. We've talked about this. Oh, I forgot I did that. Yes, I made it a. I made the entrance to the private club, that is the Discord, conditional upon getting vaccinated, and our administrator actually has a list of everyone who's vaccinated and who's not, and has, yes, I'm bitter, like that. Another question was, yes, these things don't become, so these two things, like, they don't morph between each other. The versus foreign antibodies, these guys really all they do is they eat everything that they don't recognize as part of their own body, part of the system that they belong to, which is why autoimmune diseases are so dangerous, because these things have to be floating in our immune system. And so if we destroy our immune system to stop a autoimmune disorder, we are actually getting rid of these bad boys, and that means we have to live in a clean room for the rest of our lives, right? That is genuinely the issue, because then we have no more adaptive immunity, which means that we are going to get sick from everything that comes at us. Every new thing that comes at us. Everything that came before is still fine, but everything new is bad, right? So that's why. Questions? Further questions? good question. How does the lipid nanoparticle? I talked about it briefly, but really all it is you can think of it as a very, very compact, very, very high strength soap bubble. And inside that bubble, there's a whole bunch of mRNA, and that mRNA gets folded into the human cell, and that's it. Does that make sense? Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Am I going to have to... yeah. I'm going to have to go. Yes. So we will end it here for today. Again, Shay, thank you very much for watching. I don't mind talking about this. No, not at all. Especially to you lot, since you lot actually will listen to what I have to say and kind of understand what I say. I don't welcome talking about this to a normal society, because that's too tiresome. But yeah, the point remains that it's very much the vaccine. Good question. Now let's talk about that real quick. Delta, the reason why Delta is, why Alpha actually is better than is more contagious than the original, and why Delta is more contagious than Alpha comes back to the spike protein. Remember we said that it doesn't look exactly the same, right? It doesn't look exactly the same. Well, what if now... Oh, do you have to do this? Oh my god. Okay. So what if now this is what Alpha looks like, and then this is what Delta looks like? Right? Suddenly you have even better compatibility between the spike protein and the virus, and that makes it much more difficult, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Exactly. Like if exactly. Yes, I don't know why I didn't just say puzzle piece. It's a puzzle piece that matches well, and a puzzle piece that matches okay. Right? A puzzle piece that matches okay, you can still jam it in there. But a puzzle piece that matches much better means that it is much better at, just simply much better at recognizing and being able to integrate itself into the human cell. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's really all it is. Okay, good. Let's end it here for today. Again, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Thank you for actually requesting this. I only did this because yes, because our admin told us that there was a desire by how much was it? 70, 72? Well, something like more than 70 people on the Discord requested this after the admin asked, send out a quiet poll, and so yeah, great. I mean, if you guys want to know more, we can talk about it. It's not that exciting. The ideas are all here, right? Like, just get vaccinated. Oops, my bad. Yeah, that's it for today. We're good? Good. Alright. In conclusion, please download Firefox, please download Chrome, and I'll see you guys. Okay, that's fine, I can answer that question, because that is actually a very good question. Mixing vaccines. There is no reason why we cannot mix vaccines. Of course, Pfizer, Moderna, Astra, all of these are double dose vaccines, and The reason for that is that they need the booster shot to make sure that the body then goes through this process again, and we all know of the stories about people who have the second shot and it's much worse. Like their reaction is much worse, and that is actually exactly the point, because when they react much worse, that means the body already has a good idea of what's coming, and so the body goes into overdrive to make sure that these things go completely away, right? And that is genuinely a good thing. You want, well, I mean, you don't necessarily want that, but it shows that the vaccine has worked, and it means that it'll work even better from now, right? That's not to say that those people who don't have that reaction, the vaccine just didn't work. But things like fever and fatigue and all of that is part and parcel of the immune system going into overdrive to fight off a new unknown, right? And so for some people, there's like we don't have a good explanation of why some people have a much bigger response than others, but it is okay to have those responses. Like, you don't have to worry that you didn't get a big second dose response, or you don't have to worry if you do get a big second dose response. It is wonderful. Now, about mixing vaccines, it appears that Astra first and then an mRNA based booster, so either Pfizer or Moderna, is actually a great way to boost T cells, which are the ones that actually do the killing. That's not like what mixing vaccines does is they give the body more avenues to attack, right? So remember, this antibody created by something like Sinovac isn't the same as an antibody that was created by the mRNA of a spike mRNA based, say for example, Pfizer antibody that's generated by the Pfizer. And similarly for Astra, like when the method of delivery and the type of creation, the method of creation is different, then you'll have the body respond in dramatically different ways. Now, mixing Pfizer and Moderna is not as... I don't think we've seen quite a big of a difference, because I think they use broadly similar, not only similar introduction vehicles, so the lipid nanoparticle, blah blah blah, but like the mRNA sequence is also very similar, which means that the end result of these two vaccines is actually very similar, right? Whereas with Astra, because it's DNA based, it needs to then go through translation into mRNA and then get built, and you get lots of very, well, not lots, you get a few very interesting differences that might arise in that process, because you have to do more translations. And in the case of like inactivated viruses, like with the Sinovac, the vaccine itself contains just many more pieces, and because it contains many more pieces of the virus, you're going to get a bigger spectrum of antibodies, and therefore, you might get less of each, but you get more ways of recognizing the virus. yeah, exactly. That's a good question. Why don't we all do it? Because we haven't tested. Because medicine is about testing it properly and having a very rigorous way of understanding these things. Unfortunately, we don't have the tests. We have a few tests. We have one in Spain, England, Portugal, something along these lines. Especially in Europe, actually, when Astra came and then Astra disappeared for a while. Like, that is definitely creating these types of studies that we can use in the general population, right? Because you could literally go up to 35-year-old men and say, hey, you got Astra, and you got Astra and Pfizer. Can we study you to take some of your blood to understand the differences in what these two have done to your body? And that's fair. And there are hundreds and thousands of people that we can then take this blood from, and actually then use it to understand the differences in these. And I'm sure there are many scientists working really hard to get us this information, both for their own selfish publication reasons, but also for public health reasons. Before we end, actually, that brings us to a good point. Because of how broadly these vaccines have already been applied, they are some of our, just by the sheer number of people that have been injected with them, they are some of the safest vaccines that we now have. Or I should say, they are some of the most studied vaccines that we now have. There are the side effects that regulators all over the world are attaching to them, but those are so minor and so small compared to the good that taking these vaccines are, that unless you really have a issue with the vaccine, as in, like, if it will kill you, then yeah, of course, don't do it. But like, they are safer than, they're so much safer than our yearly or I shouldn't say they're so much safer, they're so much better studied than our yearly flu shots, that it baffles me that some people would rather get a flu shot than get the COVID-19 vaccine. Like, the COVID-19 vaccine has gone into more arms, I think, than the last 10 years worth of flu shots. That's like, I feel like I stand by that. Yeah, absolutely. So, get vaccinated. Okay, we're done here. Thank you again very much for watching. In conclusion, Firefox, don't do Chrome, and I shall see you guys tomorrow for our Friday broadcast. Excellent. Bye-bye.